Oh, Larry, you gotta start the show.
Can't you read? I'm on strike.
Good, now start the show.
That's it. You, like everyone else, thinks Larry will always be here.
What are you talking about?
Oh, forget strike.
That's better.
I quit.
What? No, you can't.
Oh, yeah, I am out of here.
Oh, no, Larry.
Would you cut that out?
I'm sorry, it happens whenever I get tense.
Well, relax. Loosen up, will you? Okay, this is your host, Larry, introducing our first and my last freaky story. You're gonna love it. Would you cut that out?
This is a true story. It happened to a friend of mine. Josh, you know, the really cute guy who sits next to me in chemistry? All Josh really cares about is his car. It's not even that special. But he's always fixing and tinkering with it. He never looks up. Once, when I was walking by, for the 10th or 12th time that hour, he asked me to hand him a ratchet wrench. I'm pretty sure he recognized my hand. Anyway, that car of his cost him a fortune, which is why, I guess, Josh ended up taking that job at the pizza joint. There was this notice up on the school bulletin board. The pizza parlor was looking for a new driver. Had to have his own wheels. So Josh met the owner for an interview, which mostly consisted of the guy tossing a pizza while asking Josh if he could begin right away. Since Sydney, the last delivery kid, went out with the pizza and never came back. Josh asked about the pay, which he learned was minimum wage, and tips. Unless, of course, a pizza took longer than 30 minutes to deliver. Then the cost of the pizza came out of his pocket. He could live with that. So Josh got a hat and a uniform shirt with his name on it. Around 10:30, the boss said he had to leave, but that he's made up a couple of pizzas. Josh could pop them in the oven and drop them off on his way home. So there was Josh, his first night on the job, sitting in the pizza joint waiting for the clock to hit 11. At 5:02, the phone rang. It was a girl. Kind of sexy voice, asking for a couple of pizzas. No problem. He'd be there in 30 minutes or it was free. Josh baked the pizzas, closed the restaurant, and headed for his car. And he still had 15 minutes to make a 7-minute trip. But suddenly, the car limped to a stop. Josh jumped out, flipped up the hood, and tinkered until he got the engine to crank up again. He raced the rest of the way, but it'd been more than 30 minutes. Josh knocked on the door of the big, dark house. A very pretty girl came to the door. Poor Josh. He was so embarrassed. He apologized for being late and begged her not to tell his boss. The girl just laughed and told him she'd pay for the pizzas. So why didn't he just come in and wait till she found her purse? She asked Josh if he was hungry. She thought maybe he'd like to join her for some of that pizza. Well, Josh figured it was okay, since he was on his own time now, and he was kind of hungry. She asked Josh to get some soft drinks from the fridge in the basement, and she handed him a candle. So he went down these creaky old stairs, and when he got to the bottom, he tripped and the candle went out. Josh took out his pocket flashlight and shone it around the gray, wet, dripping walls. No fridge. But there was a door, and he opened it. Inside was a coat rack, and on each hook was a pizza shirt, just like his, each with a different name on it. The closest one said Sydney. He turned to go, and standing in the doorway was the girl, holding the largest, sharpest pizza cutter he'd ever seen. She just smiled at him and said, "How many slices can I make you?" This is a true story. Happened to a friend of mine. Josh, who turns white as a ghost whenever I ask him if he'd like to go out for a pizza sometime. He's so cute.
Good evening, ladies and germs. You know, a funny thing happened on the way to the diner today. A slug came up and asked me for $5 for a cup of slime. I said, slime doesn't cost $5, it only costs $1. He said, yeah, but I'm a big tipper. But seriously. Hi, Larry.
Hi, Maurice.
I didn't know you were still.
Man, oh man. He must want my job real bad. He can't even tell it. Anyway, here is our next freaky story. It's one of my favorites.
This is a true story. It happened to a friend of mine, and I'd like to get a lot more friendly with him, if you get my drift. His name's Al. Big Al. Pecs like watermelons, biceps like papayas, quads like cantaloupes. Al's one yummy fruit salad. Makes a good living, too. Installs carpets. So what's his flaw? His cigar. Always stuck in his face. One day, Al goes to install some nylon poly shag in this house where the lady, a kind of prissy old thing, sees Al's cigar and lets him know she doesn't want to see that thing inside her house. And what a home it was. Beautiful furniture, lots of fancy pictures, antiques all over the place. And hanging from the ceiling, a real fancy bird cage that belonged in a museum, like some kind of wire palace. Oh yeah, and there was a bird in it, a little canary that the lady called Queenie. Well, Al clears out the furniture into the other room, but when he goes to move the bird cage, the lady says Queenie stays. That cage isn't on the floor, and besides, she says, Queenie likes to observe people. Well, Al hauls in the carpet and starts laying it out. Now there's no one in the room except him and Queenie. So he starts talking to the bird. Now the bird's not talking back except for a little tweet now and then. But Al is feeling some kind of affinity. Now, here's where the cigar comes into the story. When the lady says she's got to go out to buy bird food, Al sees his chance to get a couple of chomps on his cigar stub. So there he is, chomping on the cigar, chit-chatting with Queenie, and installing the nylon poly shag, stretching and banging the carpet onto the tacks along the baseboards. On it goes, chomp, chomp, gab, gab, bang, bang, chomp, chomp, gab, gab, bang, bang. After a while, Al got to thinking that Queenie was kind of sad, being locked in a cage. So he opened the door and Queenie flew out. Al sat back against the wall, rolled the cigar butt around in his mouth and watched his little feathered pal have the time of her life. Until he heard the key in the door. Al stashed the cigar butt in his pocket and tried to get Queenie back into her cage. But that bird would have no part of it. When the lady came back, Al tried to stand between her and the cage so she wouldn't notice it was empty. But wouldn't you know it, the bird comes and lands right on Al's shoulder. All he could do was paste on a weak, namby-pamby kind of grin. But the lady, she just laughs and laughs because she tells Al she always lets Queenie out of the cage. Well, this is a big relief to Al, who goes back to work. And now, with all that time he wasted playing with the bird, he was way behind schedule. So he just worked faster. In what seemed like no time, Al was standing in the doorway, calling the lady to inspect the beautiful job he did. And when she came to stand beside him, she pointed to the center of the floor where there was a bump in the carpet. What in the world is that? Now, Al knows that when he shoved the cigar into his pocket, it must have fallen out and got caught under the carpet. But he's not about to confess that he was chomping on his cigar, so he says, "Little air pocket," and he takes out his mallet and whacks the air pocket flat. So Al gets the work order signed and is out the door like a shot. And while he's getting into his truck, he's stuffing the work order into his pocket, and there it is, his cigar. And then it hits him. If he's got the cigar stub, what was under the rug? And just then, the lady comes running from the house, screaming, "Queenie! Queenie! Where's my little Queenie?" And that was a true story. It happened to a friend of mine, Al, who's grown to a flabby 300 pounds since he quit installing carpets.
Oh, man. This job hunting is baloney. The interviews, man, they're killing me. Sorry, Mr. Moneyman. Business is not for me. Because I got show business in my blood. Maestro. I gotta dance my dance and sing my song. I gotta entertain you all night long. I gotta warble and croon a happy old tune and twinkle my toes. So here's how it goes.
Get the feet! Get the feet!
How embarrassing. Well, goodbye, everybody. I'm sure they'll find someone to take my place. Oh, yeah, and roll the next story. Yeah.
This is a true story. It happened to a friend of mine. Jimmy was the best. When it came to getting a story, Jimmy was a photojournalist in a class by himself, a stringer for the tabloids. He could put together a story like no one else. One day, Jimmy got a lead on a bunch of UFO nuts out in the New Mexico desert at this Area 51 place. They're saying that a UFO crashed there back in '47 and that the Army had the spaceship and the aliens locked away on ice that night. Jimmy was scoping out Area 51, a few square miles of scrub desert with some tumble-down Quonset huts and a couple of weather-beaten airplane hangars. The whole pile of worthless real estate was surrounded by a gleaming stainless steel chain link and barbed wire fence and camera. To a guy like Jimmy, where a keep out sign is a welcome mat, a setup like this was an engraved invitation. He broke out his gear, found a dry gully, hid the car under a pile of tumbleweeds, and set out on foot. Then he used his alligator clips to bypass the deadly electrified fence. Piece of cake. The hangar where the space stuff was stashed was a couple of 100 yards from the fence. From a distance, it looked like a breeze would knock it over. But up close, solid as a rock. A titanium reinforced rock. So, he slipped his skeleton key into the lock. The door swung open, and he was in. He quietly shut the door and surveyed the inside of the hangar as he adjusted the night vision goggles. There were things there in the hangar. It was difficult to make out the strange shapes through the goggles. These things were obviously a product of a superior alien technology. The pictures would be worth a fortune. He kept snapping away. The infrared film would pick up all of the detail. Suddenly, Jimmy must have tripped an alarm, or maybe they found the car. Quickly, he rewound and unloaded the film and hid it in the cuff of his pants, then reloaded and kept shooting. That's how the MPs found him. They ripped the film out of the camera and marched Jimmy to the guardhouse. But if they arrested him, it would mean them telling something about this place to the local cops. So, they let Jimmy go. He jumped in the car and hightailed it out of there. Now, Jimmy, not being one to waste time, was on the phone as he drove. He whipped the editors of the tabloids into a frenzy for his exclusive pictures of the alien spacecraft. He pulled into the paper's parking lot, presented the editor with a precious film canister, and collected a very heavy suitcase full of green stuff. They ran the canister to the photo lab, where it was scanned into the paper's mainframe computer. Then it was emailed to the print department, and 2 hours later, newspapers hit the streets all across the country. One small problem. No one had actually bothered to look at Jimmy's pictures before they were printed. Jimmy never even actually saw what he was photographing. So you can imagine the uproar when Jimmy's pictures of an alien spaceship turned out to be the Army's new top-secret potato peeler. Of course, Jimmy was fired. So, a few months later, Jimmy was working as a private detective. He was tailing this businessman and his girlfriend through the museum, taking pictures for the guy's wife to use in her divorce case. Jimmy was snapping, and when he backed up to get a better view, he bumped into a big display case. He turned, and that's when he came face to face with an old friend. It was the alien and its spaceship from Roswell, New Mexico, hidden away in plain sight where no one would ever find it. Hey, it's a true story. It happened to a friend of mine, Jimmy. Turns out the spaceship had been right there, in the museum since about 1947. But Jimmy can't tell anyone. Who would believe it?
And now, as the new host of Freaky Stories, I am proud to introduce to you...
How could they possibly hire you?
Well, they said that if I can control myself, because, well, you know what happens when I get tense.
Oh, and what makes you tense?
Well, you know, if someone's staring at me or something.
Right.
Well, now, for our next freaky story. This next story is one of the freakiest... excuse me, hey, you know, that wasn't me. Okay, where was I? Okay. This next freaky... I swear, I'm not doing that.
Oh.
Now that was me.
Thank you. Roll the next one. I'm still the fairest story introducer of them all. Oh, Maurice. Oh.
This is a true story. It happened to a friend of mine, Moody. He owns the Moody's Motel. You can't miss it. Big sign says Moody's Motel, home of Moody's Miracle Blunder Bed. Last Saturday night, Len, that big friendly moose of a guy, wheeled into the motel parking lot. He was dead tired and wanted nothing more than a good night's sleep. Len rang the office buzzer and woke up Moody. Are you nuts? Boomed Moody. It's 2 a.m. Len pasted on a smile and introduced himself as the last of a dying breed of salesmen traveling across this great country. It's $50 for a room. Len couldn't help asking about Moody's Miracle Blunder Beds. Were they included in the room charge? Moody nodded, and cracking a smug smile, he answered, everything at Moody's is included. I guarantee it'll be a sleep you'll never forget. With that, Len strutted out the door with a room key. Len set his appointment book exactly how he liked it on the nightstand, so he could check it first thing in the morning. Then he searched for the bed's massage control, but couldn't find it anywhere. This had better be a Miracle Blunder Bed, Len thought, and it better be working. He picked up the phone and tried to get Moody, but there was no answer. Frustrated, he flopped down on the mattress. Just then, he heard a faint, weird, almost mechanical rubbing sound. Len thought it was the distant roar of the highway, or maybe ringing in his ears from listening to too much of that new country radio. Then he felt something at his fingertips. He ripped back the bed covers and saw that the mattress was moving. Must be touch activated. Len grinned as he slipped into the inviting Miracle Blunder Bed. It felt like 1,000 busy fingers were massaging his body. All his aches and pains from knocking on doors just slipped away. Its soothing fingers just dragged him into a deep, dreamy sleep. Until 10 the next morning when he woke up. Len sprang out of the bed, feeling like he could sell anything. I could surely sell Moody's Miracle Blunder Beds. Hundreds of them, thousands. He burst out of the room and sprinted to the motel office, babbling something about the deal of a lifetime. Len begged Moody to tell him who manufactured his beds. Yeah, I could sell them to every motel in the country, in the whole world. Moody shrugged. I make them myself for my motel, and I'm not interested in selling them to anybody else. But Len kept pressing and pressing until the motel owner slammed the door in Len's face. Len was crushed, and he drove away. But before too long, he realized he'd forgotten his treasured appointment book back at the motel. Len knew one thing. He could try to live without Moody's Miracle Blunder Beds, but he couldn't live without his appointment book. So he hung a U-turn and headed back. Len found his book on the floor between the bed and the nightstand. As he reached for it, he noticed the mattress move. It kind of freaked him out because he hadn't touched the bed to activate its massage fingers. He picked up his appointment book, then noticed a small hole in the side of the bulging mattress. Of course, thought Len, the Miracle Blunder Bed secret massage mechanism. If I can just get a look at that mechanism, who needs Moody? Len put his eye up to the hole, but it was too small to see what was moving inside, so he poked his finger in to make it bigger. Just then, the mattress ripped open, spilling thousands of cockroaches all over him. Cockroaches! No magic, anything, just roaches. Len ran from the room covered with bugs. This is a true story. It happened to a friend of mine, Len, who's still selling encyclopedias, but now he travels in an RV. And yes, he makes his own bed.
Ladies and gentlemen, the producers will announce the name of our permanent host next week. Thank you.
Hey, boss. You can't do this. I need this job, okay? Please don't let me go. Please. I'll do anything you want. Yeah, I'll sweep the floor. I'll carry your bag. I'm on my knees here. I'll do anything. Anything. Well, not quite anything. I'm begging you, pleading. I need this job. Hey, was that acting? Oh, what? Let's face it, with talent like mine, who needs a real job? See you next week. I hope